guys, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle, the CouchCast edition.
The CouchCast edition.
Yes, it is.
I was just repeating what you were saying. I didn't really know.
There's an echo in here. We tried so hard to get rid of all the echoes, and there we go.
Very funny.
Okay.
Your turn to pick from the box.
I'm not looking, but I'm
jumping right in. Even if you didn't look, they're all folded, so you couldn't see.
How to break up well.
Oh,
I
think this was
fun.
my suggestion.
Well,
which
kick us off, then.
I might be regretting that suggestion.
Okay, what was it that you had in mind when you brought this up? Do you mean like the specifics of exactly what to say, or just the general like spirit behind a good breakup?
Both.
Okay.
I think the spirit of it and just your attitude and your demeanor going into a breakup. If you are the one breaking up, yes. If you're not, good luck, because a lot of times you don't see it coming and it's really difficult. I'm just kidding.
I know.
There are still ways.
I have blindsided people before, and it's not fun.
It's not fun at all. But yes, so the attitude and like kind of how you're coming about it, but also I think we can give some recommendations on what to say. I think, and I'm thinking about this more in the way of, hey, I've been dating this person for a while. How do I break up with them well? Not hey, we've been talking, I've decided I'm not interested anymore. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a different episode. So this is for people who have either been in a relationship for a while or and it's like been a really long-term thing, or maybe it's been a few months, but you were exclusively dating and that kind of scenario.
Well, and I think in that scenario, and I haven't always done this perfectly, but I said I've blindsided people before. That was more on the what you're talking about when you've just kind of been talking and you're just testing it and date whatever. That's what I was talking about. I think when you've dated someone for a while or you've been in a longer-term relationship, it shouldn't be a blindside. Because I think there should be conversations leading up to it that give the other person an indication of, hey, this isn't going well. I mean, in any relationship, there's going to be friction, there's going to be arguments, there's going to be disagreements, and you should talk those through. If something gets to a point of we can't work this out, it should be because you've tried and it's not working, and you've talked about, this is important to me, this is something that I'm not willing to budge on, and we're not in an agreement here.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, just have a mature conversation. And I think it's really important in that scenario to be as respectful as you can, but also as honest as you can. Yeah. I have personally been in this scenario where I was dating a guy and our priorities just weren't lining up. And we'd had several conversations about it, trying to get on the same page. And it basically came down to the fact where he didn't want to change his priorities and I didn't want to change mine, and things just weren't. And it wasn't out of like a
stubbornness.
Yeah, it wasn't out of stubbornness. It was just, this is what I value in this season of my life and this is what you're valuing, and they're not the same. So I had the conversation of, hey, you know what? I think what you're pursuing is great. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's really cool that you have these passions and these things that you're going for and that you're trying to pursue. However, I don't think it's fair for you to try to pursue a relationship at the same time if that thing is going to monopolize so much of your time.
Yeah.
And that was the breaking point. And so I think if you can go into it instead of like, you didn't make time for me and you didn't do this and I'm going to accuse you and you did this wrong and you're blah, blah, blah. That's, the technical term. But just being like, hey, I see what you're valuing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I don't think a relationship, you're not going to be able to put everything you can into a relationship if you're trying to do this at the same time. So I'm going to remove myself.
Yeah. And that's fine. And I think breaking up well doesn't mean there's no hurt. And there's no regret sometimes, and there's no wondering. And
no, because I was still heartbroken.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that stuff's not there. It just means you were mature and adults, and you tried to work it out, and you both came to the realization it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Depending on how well the two of you communicate, there will probably be degrees to that, I think. It won't always be this, let's sit down and have a conversation about us breaking up. It's not that. That's not, I don't think that's what we're saying. It's just be honest. Have a hard conversation. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, I think sometimes you get to a point of, we're just going to have to break up. When really you just need to have a few conversations because your expectations are mismatched. Mm-hmm. You're thinking one thing and you're expecting one thing, but you haven't told him. He doesn't know that. Yeah. And vice versa. Whereas if you would sit down and talk about it, this breakup may turn into, this was just a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you don't have those conversations, you never would know.
Exactly. I think this is what I like to call the don't make the Chandler Bing mistake.
Exactly.
If you watch Friends, there's that episode where Chandler and Monica have a fight, and Chandler thinks they're breaking up just because they had a fight. And
Isn't
she
it the one
was
where
like,
they go to the hotel,
yes,
and the car chase, and they end up in like 12 different rooms because she doesn't like something about every one of them. Okay.
And so he was like, well, I guess it's over. And she's like, what? No, we just had a fight. Welcome to an adult relationship. Like, that you work through this stuff. So I definitely think breakups, especially in longer term relationships, but in any case, shouldn't be hasty. If this relationship is really important to you, you should be fighting for it. And if you're not wanting to fight for it, I think that's a whole different issue you need to kind of work through.
And we're not talking about in instances of abuse or violence. Like,
no.
I want to be clear about that. We're not saying, yeah, you should fight for it anyway. Not at all.
No.
There are things that are deal breakers immediately that are understandable.
Absolutely.
We're talking about differences of opinion, differences in lifestyle, and like you said, in the priorities maybe. Talk about those things. If at the first sign of, really it comes down to just not getting your way.
Yeah.
You're like, peace out, I'm done. That does not set you up well or bode well for a future marriage. Because you're not going to get your way. It's not always going to go how you want it to. So you need to have those conversations and work through those things as much as you can. And that's why communication is so important. Being able to say, hey, do this differently. Not because I just want it that way or whatever, but there's that element of, okay, we're pointing each other to Christ. That's our ultimate goal here. And iron sharpens iron. Like, you're going to make things known to that other person that maybe there were blind spots for them. And you're encouraging them to do that thing better. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
So be willing to do that, I think, before you just call it quits.
Yes. I will say one more thing. I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to say something about it too. In extreme cases, whether it's cheating or some sort of moral issue that's...
Or you come to realize maybe he's not saved.
Yes, you come to realize that too. Those kind of larger circumstances, totally understand making a very quick break. My one encouragement to you would be, if you're in that situation, when you go to have the conversation to end it, if at all possible, do it once your emotions have settled a little bit.
Even talk to someone else.
Yes.
I think a lot of these things, one, I always say, well, I don't always say it. I sometimes say, don't date in a bubble where it's just the two of you and no one else is involved and no one else sees your relationship, because you will see what you want to see in that person sometimes. And same thing with this. When I've broken up with people or had issues, I've gone to my mom or, someone who I respected and, had that influence in my life and said, hey, you know me. Am I making a bigger deal out of this than it is? Am I at fault here? What should I be doing? And I've had people say, yeah, you're making a big deal out of this. You need to manage your expectations. You need to come off the ledge a little, calm down, and then talk about it. But the key there is, like you said, calm down and then go talk about it.
Yeah, I think the likelihood of you having any regrets about how you handled it is going to drop tremendously if you let your emotions settle and then go to have the conversation. Because how many times have we all done things when we were emotional that we wish we
Sure, and that's like we're saying, having mature conversation.
Yes.
That's part of a mature conversation is knowing, I need to cool off. I need to take a minute and think about what I really want to say, because once your words are out there, they're out there. You can apologize, you can ask for forgiveness, but the words have been said and they have impact. And so I think being able to put your thoughts together, take notes if you need to, write things down.
Oh, I've written something.
And
written down what I was going to say before.
Go talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And a couple other things. These are things we've talked about before, but just out of common courtesy, don't do it over a text message unless the world is ending and you are like, that's your only form of communication. Like, there's a level of honor and respect for the other person that you're exhibiting by at least calling them. If you can't see them in person, at least call them on the phone.
And that's where I've not done that before. I mean, I sit here and say never do this, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. But does that mean I've done it perfectly? No. I've texted when I should have called.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy. this day and age, it makes me sound like an old person.
The
To
kids
make
these
that,
days.
I know, really, to make that mistake, but you are going to show so much respect and value for the other person, even if you have your differences, even if it's ending, but just that, hey, you were worth me telling this to
Right.
verbally.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm going to hide behind my screen because
Yeah.
I don't want to have this conversation.
Agreed.
So that, and then just be honest about why you're ending it. And you can be kind and honest. You don't have to sit there and list every horrible thing they've ever done. But if it's a priority thing, it's a priority thing. If it's I've had to have the conversation of like, hey, I think our faith is just, we value it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so you can say very difficult things to hear in a kind way, but still be honest. It goes back to the survey we did.
And you should.
With the guys. Tell them the truth, because you're not doing anybody any favors by lying to them about.
No.
Don't say God told you to break up with them. Don't say, oh, I just need to have some me time. No.
Yeah.
Just be honest and straight up with them. Because granted, when I've been broken up with, it does cause you to take some self-reflection time and be a little introspective. And yes, I get really like mad and upset and I cry at first, but then you kind of go back and be like, okay, no, actually I could work on that.
Sure.
Or I could be better at that. And I'm really glad he told me, because I wasn't, totally aware of how that could, really affect a relationship. So honesty is key when it comes to this.
Well, and like you said, that's what, when we did the survey way back in season 1, that's the way guys appreciate communication, is that straightforward honesty. So there's that aspect to it. But above that, honesty is a scriptural command. So whether guys necessarily view it as the best is secondary to that. You should be honest, even if they don't prefer you to be honest. You know what I like?
Yeah, that's very true.
There's that element of it too, which I think makes a big difference in how you communicate.
Absolutely. So just be kind, be honest, be
mature.
Calm, and be mature. Those are really, and be it on the phone or in person and not texting.
Yeah.
Those are the takeaways for this.
Yeah.
Because this breaking up sucks.
It's not fun, whether you do it well or not.
Whether you do it well, whether you don't do it well, whether you're the one doing it, whether you're the one getting broken up with, like, it's all just really, really crappy. So make it the best you can in a really horrible situation.
Yeah.
I know that sounds
No,
weird
it
to
makes
say
sense,
that,
though.
but there are ways to make it not as awful.
Yeah.
As it has to be.
Yep.
So hopefully that's helpful. If
On
anybody
a
has
happier note, we're going to stop talking now.
Yeah. Let's pick a different one.
Okay. So yeah, tune in next week. We'll have a normal episode on Wednesday. Another CouchCast sometime next week.
Hopefully something happier.
Yes, it will be happier, I'm sure. Okay, but until then, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.